Hari Om everyone. I welcome all of you to today's Gita class where we will be understanding shloka number 65 from the Bhagavad Gita. Let's begin. Before we begin chanting, I'd request all of you to please keep your back straight, fold your hands, close your eyes. All of you can chant after me along with Kritik. उद्धरेत् आत्मनात्मानम्
उद्धरेत् आत्मनात्मानं
नात्मानम् अवसादयेत्
नात्मानम् अवसादयेत्
आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुर्
आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुर्
आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः.
आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः.
Very nice, Kritik. Very good, everyone. Now, let's understand the meaning of this shloka. So, I'm sure all of you can see these wonderful, divine, wise people, the enlightened masters, the Mahagurus. We can see Prabhuji, Mata Amritanandamayi, Swami Vivekananda, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Buddha, Sharda Devi, so many wonderful, divine, wise sages. All of them Jagat Gurus. But what makes them so different? What makes them so nice? Do they have some kind of superpower that we don't? Do they come from some other world? Is it that they become enlightened, they understand the truth from some other world and they come here? Do they have something that we don't, something that we cannot get? The answer to all of these questions lies in the same shloka, and we will decode it one by one. So, now, first of all, think about what you want to put out in the world. What is it that you want to give the world? What is it? Do you want to give love, peace, joy? Do you want to help people around you? Or do you want to spread hatred, pain, maybe put anger outside your world, put hatred? What is it that you want to put? Tejas, what is it that you want to put? Yes, Nigda.
Like these people, they all guide us in the right way.
Very nice. So, Snigdha, what do you want to put out in the world? Goodness?
I want to spread like happiness, kindness, and I want people to learn how to help other people instead of becoming bad.
Very nice. Very good, Snigdha.
I want people to understand that.
Wow, very nice. So, one really interesting thing. So, whatever you want to put out, it will first get into you, it will first manifest within you. So, Buddha gives a really good example about anger. He says, anger is like having a coal in your throat. So, you may spit anger at others like a venomous snake, but the coal will burn everyone around you and whomever you aim at. But before all of it, it will first burn you first. It will burn your own throat. It will burn you and then it will burn others. So whether be it goodness or things like anger and hatred, both of them will first affect you. So these divine beings realize the goodness in them. They realize the divinity in them. They realize that you must treat everyone with kindness, that all of us are a family. And I am not this body, mind, and intellect. I am the divine light of the self. And when they realize this, and they stayed with that truth, it's not that they said, now that I've realized the truth, I have some problems in my life, I'll solve all of them. And one day, when all of this solves, I'll be a very good person. From 1st January 2025, I will be a wonderful person. Till then, I will stay as it is. But one fine day, I will change everything. I will become the best person on planet Earth. They didn't say that. Nor did they say the circumstances around my life are not very supportive to being a kind and peaceful person. They didn't say that. No matter what the circumstances was, it could be good health or bad health. It could be the people around you and what they tell you. It could be the different things. But in spite of all of that, they stayed who they are. They were the divine beings they were. And that is what made them so special. That is what made them the Maha Gurus that they are. Now, think of this like a dream. So, you see different things in your dream, right? You look at yourself sometimes. I don't know what you all dream of. Maybe having chocolates or chocolates raining from the sky or ice creams. So many different things. I'm not sure. And there are also so many other characters in your dream. There's so many different characters in your dream. Now, different characters do different things. Someone might be scolding you. Someone might be telling you, oh, you're such a good child. So they're doing different things. They're doing, some might do something that you like. The rest may do something that you don't like very much. So they're doing different things. Now, someone slaps you in your dream. What are you going to do? Are you going to say, are you going to blame that person? Are you going to start hating the person from next day? Not really, because we all know that all of these characters are not real. They're not true. They are something that my own mind created. They are all created by my mind. They manifest in my mind. It's all in my mind. So if there's someone you can blame, maybe if you do want to blame, then it should be your mind, right? Because all of these characters are not true. Similarly, our life is the dream that we see in the state that we think we are awake and we think it's true. But this too is a dream. And all the characters here also are someone that your mind is creating. All of it is coming from your own mind. So the divine beings that we saw in the previous slide, they realized that this world is something that my own mind created. And when they realized that, and when they applied it in their life, they became the jnanis. If you realize the truth and if you still don't apply it, then you will remain an ajnani. So you know it's the truth, but still you will choose to be affected by everything around you. But these divine beings, the jnanis, they became the Sthita Prajna, they realized the true meaning of life. So we have this body, mind, and intellect. So how are you going to use it? What are the things that you're going to do through this body of yours? So everyone eats, sleeps, does something that they like watching television, doing some wonderful things, maybe playing outside. But is this all that you're going to do? Or is there something else that you want to do as well? Do you think this is all that makes or defines your life? It might be Mata Amritanandamayi, who dedicated her entire life for people around her, for children, to bring happiness or bliss in their life, to help them realize the truth. Or it may be Prabhuji, through whom we are all able to connect here in the Gita class, through whom we have these wonderful circles in Aili. It may be Swami Vivekananda, who motivated all the youngsters. He wanted different direction for India. Or it might be that doctor who's saving millions of lives. It might be some person who's bringing happiness in the life of so many people. It can be you who's helping people around you. It can be you who's helping the people, the animals, the birds, all the living beings that you see. You're not someone who's hurting all of them. You're someone who's always being very caring, who's being very kind to all the people around. So it can be you. So you can also be a jnani. You can be that wise person. You can spread the goodness, just like how the amazing people we saw in the previous slide were. So remember, until and unless you start believing that this is the truth and this is the life, I'm not this body, mind, and intellect. I'm the light of the self. I'm this divine. And we are all one. And I should use my body and mind that I have now like an instrument of God, like flute of Krishna, to serve people around and to spread happiness and joy. Let us listen to a story of one such Jnani. The Jnani is Sardar Vallabhai Patel. So he was a lawyer, and he was one fine day he was arguing in the court. So what was he exactly doing? So there was a person, an accused. So he was said to have committed some crime, and if he was proved guilty, then he would be hung to death. So Sardar Vallabhai Patel was fighting against it. He was fighting for the accused person. He said that this person is not guilty, he is innocent, and that is what he was telling the judge, and that was what he was arguing for. At the moment when he was arguing, his junior came up to him. It's like an assistant. He came up to him and he gave him a letter. Sardar Vallabhai Patel opened that letter. He read it. There was a slight change in expression, but he quickly hid his expressions. He quickly hid his emotions. He just folded the letter back, kept it in the pocket. He stood there for a few seconds, silent and peaceful. And then he quickly started fighting for the person. He started fighting, and once all of this was done, the judge asked him, "You were reading a letter. What was it? What was in the letter that it was so important that your assistant got it in between the court proceedings?" So Sardar Vallabhai Patel says that my wife has died, she's passed away, and that was what was in the letter. They were informing me about her demise. So the judge was shocked. He said, "Your wife has passed away. You should have immediately left the court, and you should have gone to your house. You should have gone to look at your wife, and you shouldn't have stayed here." So he says, at that moment, I thought, what is the most important thing to do at this moment? One thing would be go back to my wife, but my wife is already dead. Could I bring her back alive? Second thing could be I stay here and fight for that person, the accused. And if he's proven innocent, then I will at least be able to save another life. So, keeping my own emotions aside, I felt that saving this person, doing my duty here is more important. And that is the reason I stood back here. Again, this is a really amazing story from which we can learn so many things. But one important thing would be here, he looked at the situation. He saw at what is the best thing or what is the right thing to do at this moment. If I go there to my wife, will I be able to get her back alive? Or if I stay here, will I be able to save a life? And he definitely wanted to go to his wife. That is what his emotions is telling him. But sometimes you will have to keep your emotions aside and you will have to do the right thing. That is dharma. So here, there's one more nice thing that you would be getting to learn. It is treat others the way you want to be treated yourself. So let's imagine the person who is accused in the story. So let's say his lawyer got a letter that his wife has passed away. Now, as the accused, what would the accused want? Would he want the lawyer to stay there and fight, or would he want the lawyer to run away to his wife? So Sardar Vallabhai Patel did what the person would have wanted. So always remember, let's say you see a dog on the street. What would the dog want you to do? Would it want to be stone pelted? No. It would, even if it's okay if you don't do anything. If it's not being kind, you can, the best thing, if not you being kind towards it, you can at least ignore it and just do what you were doing. But throwing stones at it would be very bad. So always do something that you want someone else to do to you. So always give others what you are ready to accept yourself. That's the best thing to do when you're in a dilemma. When you're thinking, is it the right thing to say to someone? Shall I do this to somebody? Then think, If someone tells me the same thing, would I feel good about it? Or if someone did the same thing to me, would I feel good about it? So this is the question you should ask yourself when you are in such a dilemma. Now, I want to ask you a question. Let me ask Shreyas. Shreyas, who is your best friend?
My best friend is Rishan.
Okay. Who's your worst enemy?
Like I don't have like
Any enemy?
there's a kid lives up. His name is Shubham. He always does bad things. He always throws sands on other people, sandals. He throws rocks on other people for no reason. When I was 5 years old, he was also the same years old. He was also doing the same to me. So I didn't like him from that time. And he shifted. That's why he went to hostel. So and he came again.
Oh, so Shreyas has a best friend and a worst enemy. And I'm sure all of us think we have one person who does the best things to us. And we say that that person is our best friend. They always make us a better person. They make our life so much more beautiful. And we also think there's a person who makes our life worse. He's someone who always does bad things, someone who makes us maybe makes us angry, who makes us very irritated. There's that person, and we call him our worst enemy. But what if I said that person whom you're thinking of at this moment is not your best friend, and that person is not your worst enemy? Both the people are one person or one thing. That is your mind. Your mind is your best friend, and your mind is your worst enemy. Everything is happening in your mind, and everything you do is your mind. So every time you say, I'm going to study now, and you sit to study, your mind is your best friend. Every time you tell yourself, it's 7 o'clock, let me join Gita class. And then you join the Gita class. Then your mind is your best friend. But what if you say, let me sit down and study, but then you get distracted and you watch television and you have an exam tomorrow, and then your mind is your worst enemy. Let's say you have something very important to do, but you close your eyes to it, you shut your eyes to it, you ignore it, and you go out to play. Now, then your mind is your worst enemy. So, both ways, your mind is your best friend and your mind is your worst enemy. So, we should remember, like in our previous session, we learned about the Brahmastra, the divine weapon, the lotus. Be that lotus. So there are, when we look at muddy waters, we think this is very bad. This is so dirty. This is not something we want. This is garbage. This is so dirty, and I wouldn't want to touch it. From the same muddy waters, a divine lotus grows. It comes up from the same muddy water. So, irrespective of what is happening, you have the choice and you can stay the divine lotus. Bring out the divinity in you. Let the divinity, let that absolute truth shine from within you, and let it spread. Let all the goodness in you spread around. Just like how those Mahagurus, those Jagat Gurus, those divine beings that we saw in the very beginning, just like them, you all can be one divine lotus. Someone who spreads goodness and happiness in their surroundings. So, to conclude, all that the shloka is telling us is elevate yourself through the power of your mind and do not degrade yourself. For the mind can be the friend and also the enemy of the self. So your mind is also your friend and enemy. It's about how you use it. It's about how you can control your mind and do things. Remember to question yourself always. Every time you're taking a decision and you're confused, ask yourself, am I controlling the mind or is my mind controlling me? And then you'll know what to do. And based on everything that we've understood and assimilated, and it's all settling down in our head, let us share our understanding. Who wants to share their understanding first? Yes, Snigdha.
I have a question. Like,
Yes, please ask me.
you told that life is like a dream. So, are you saying that life is not real at all?
No, it's not real at all.
Sure.
Yes, 100% the life is not real. So, what is real? What exists? This life is like a play. Have you seen, you must have seen so many plays or movies. Have you ever been to a stage drama? It must have happened in your annual day. They must have played some skit.
Yeah.
So you see that there are these characters and they're all doing these wonderful things. There's in a Ramayana skit, for example, there's Rama there's a character who's playing Rama. There's a character who's playing Jatayu. There's a character who's playing Ravana. There's a character who's playing Sita, and it's all going on. Sometimes you even start crying, and to all the jokes you start laughing, and sometimes you even stop thinking or telling yourself that this is not true. Sometimes you go into it so deep that it feels so real. The experience is so real. Similarly, our life, though it seems very real, and you feel that every experience is real, the emotions are real, and you feel if someone you love they disappear, then you feel that now this is the end of the world and they've disappeared and that's it. Let's say the Jatayu character, he dies in the play. Ravana kills him. You're very sad. You're heartbroken. But then you go back screen. You see that the person who played Jatayu, he's all fine. He's removed his costume and he is very happy. He says, "Oh yeah, I played my role so well. I did the character so well." Similarly, this life too. Just like the dream. When you're dreaming, do you know it's a dream? Do you know that whatever is happening now is not real? Not really. You know, you feel that it's real. Everything that's happening to you is true, but once you wake up, you will say, "Oh, silly me, it's a dream." Why was I crying? Or why was I laughing? And this is all not true. Similarly, the life is a dream. And if life is just a dream, then why should I even bother to be a good person? Why can I not enjoy life, just watch movies? Why should I study at all? It's just a dream, right? But that is the thing. Even in this play, you should play your role efficiently. You should do all the good things. You should be able to bring out that Krishna in you. And that is the very purpose of life, to identify what you are, to realize the truth, to bring out the Krishna in you. Does this answer your question?
Yeah. And also, like, so if you don't do anything in like this dream in your life, like which is a dream, if you don't do anything, then you're not playing your role. It's just like you're just simply coming to earth. You're not doing anything.
Yeah, you just exist. So I want you all to ask yourselves questions. You don't have to unmute and answer. So, what's your father's name? You know it? Okay, what's your grandfather's name? What's your great grandfather's name? What's his father's name? What's his father's name? And what's his father's name? We don't really know. The maximum that we know is our father's grandfather's and our great grandfather's name. This is all I know. And I'm assuming most of us know just that. But why do we remember Krishna? Why do we remember Swami Vivekananda? Why do we remember Ramakrishna Paramahamsa? They were born way before our grandfathers were born. Krishna was born so many thousands years ago. But why do we still remember him? Because of all the good things that they did, because of the wonderful people they were. And they are the kind of people that we should be. We shouldn't just exist and one fine day disappear. But we should be someone who lives for the people, who lives for the country, who lives to do good, who's selfless. Everything that he does is with a selfless and a good intention. That is how you should be. That's how all of us should be. So does that answer your question, Snigdha?
Yeah, and also I wanted to add one thing. When you told about the movies, like when we see it, we start crying or we start laughing if it's a joke or something, right? So when
Right.
it comes to movies, I get pretty emotional about it. Like I always like, even though I tell myself it's not real, even if it's like a sad movie or something, I always feel like crying, like if it's a sad movie or something. There was this one Kannada movie I'd seen in the theater. It was so sad that I started crying so much. People were literally looking at me. They were like, "Why is she crying so much?" I cried 4 times in the movie. Like in between, I started crying and all. Sometimes I cried when my parents also did not know. So
Oh,
that emotional I was about the movie. Even though I tell myself it's not real, just uh, actor playing his role. I keep on telling myself, but somehow that the tears just start coming out of me. Like I start crying a lot.
oh, that tells us that you're someone who can connect to people very quickly. You can understand what they're going through, which is a good thing. Okay, now there's definitely these horror movies, and you get so scared when there are things popping out of nowhere. I don't recommend anybody to watch horror films because
Yeah,
not really good for our mind.
like basically just some jump scare comes all of a sudden. Like
Yeah,
some people they think it's like cool to watch horror movies. They think okay, fine, if I watch horror movies, I'm a very cool person. Everyone will think I'm a cool person. I look cool in front of everyone. Some people they think like that. But horror movies are not good for your mind. They just start coming in your mind again and again. Then you'll feel like always thinking about it again and again. Then you'll
yeah,
always be like
very,
stressed about it.
very correct, Snigdha. So maybe how about I give you a very nice task or a challenge. So by tomorrow, 7 p.m., you'll have to record a video and share it on the group. What will you do in the video? You will tell us why horror movies are not really good for our mind. Maybe that's something you can tell us. Okay,
Okay.
coming up.
And
Tejas, what do you want to share?
Yeah, what I wanted to share regarding this sloka is like if you have that like it like I know the statement. You can either be your brain's master, but you should not let it be your master, because the brain is a very good slave, but it is a very bad master. So that's what I wanted to say.
Excellent. Very nice, Tejas. Also, if you observe in the shloka, the mind is referred to as the Atman. But why? I am the Atman, but why is my mind also referred to as the Atman? Because even my mind is my own creation, and how my mind works, what it creates, all of it is in my hand. And that's the reason Krishna calls our mind as Atman too. Yes, Akshat, what did you learn from the story?
So what I learned from the story is mm, that we should not expect anyone to give us any loan, or we should not take any belongings from others.
Not from the story, but excellent learning from the story. But is there something that you understood from the shloka?
From the shloka, I understood that our mind is our best friend, but it is our worst enemy. It depends on how we control our mind.
Very nice. Excellent. Excellent. Um, Diya and Disha, does any one of you want to share what you understood from the shloka? What's your favorite part? Whatever, anything. It could be a line, just one single sentence. Like our mind is our best friend, and we should always do spread good things. Maybe one single line or just anything.
Our mind should be positive.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay, I have just one question for you, Dia and Disha, and maybe you can answer in one word. So, who's our best friend and who's our worst enemy based on how we use them? Let me give you an example. Is it a person in our life? Is it some maybe some character like Ravana from some show or from a book, or is it our own mind? Yes, that's right. It's our own mind. Very nice. Okay, who else wants to share what they understood? Yes, Arav Arohi. What did you understand from the session? What's your favorite takeaway?
We should always let our mind positive.
Very nice. Excellent. Very good. Who else? Yes, Namit.
So what I understood is that all of the things in the world happens in our mind. So like for someone, some knowledge might not be in their world. It might be something out of the world or something they might have not thought about. So like you told about the movie example, our life is also like a movie. Yeah, everything happens in our mind, and also our biggest enemy is not outside. It's inside. It's inside us. Like we may feel like I have nothing to do about it, but still, why is it happening? Maybe somebody is teasing you, but it's in your hands whether to take it or not. So I would like to tell a story about Ananda and Buddha. Once they went to an old woman's house for begging. Then when Buddha asked, she was like abused them and spit on Buddha, was asking like you do nothing, you're useless. So then they went away. Then Ananda was getting really angry. Buddha was doing nothing. He was calm, like all of us know. Then what happened is that after they came back, Ananda asked, Master, why didn't you respond back? Why were you so silent? Then he was like the begging bowl. He gave the begging bowl and he told, take this. Then Ananda was very happy. So then he took it. Um, then he asked a question: if you wouldn't have took it, would it be with me? And Ananda was like, yes. Then Buddha told the same way when I didn't tell what the old woman told, so it didn't affect me. So the same way in our life, it's about our perception towards things that matters to us, and it's not that some maybe others are doing a mistake, but any problems we face, it's because of our own bad things. It's not like the other person is a very good person and we are the culprits. Uh, the other person is definitely not doing the correct thing by doing that. But we have it in our hands whether to take it, and like you gave the example of studying, when the mind becomes our best enemy and best friend and worst enemy. It's in our hands. Like if it leads us to do a good thing, good work, it's a good friend of us. And if it leads us to do some wrong work, it's a bad enemy. Like uh, like when you have exams going to play a lot of time, something like even though it's the worst enemy, we may feel it like it's our best friend because we are getting to play. But in reality it's affecting us in a bad way. Like if you think at that moment, it might be good, but at a long run it might affect you. So everything that happens is in our mind. That's what I understand.
Very nice, Namit. You summarized the entire thing. Very nice. Great job, everyone. All of you did amazing, and we all loved listening to each and everything you all shared. With that, let us chant the Sri Krishna Mahamantra. I request all of you to chant along with me on mute. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Krishna. Hari Om. Thank you, everyone.